Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to tell you about my day, and then we're going to look at some of the information from the Viking Handbook, or Handbook. My day's been really busy, and, let's just put it this way. My morning consisted of getting up with Jerry, taking her over to the Mercy Clinic, or the hospital here in town, getting blood drawn for her 2 doctors. One doctor wanted to know how her lipids and A1C was going, and the other one just needed a general blood test to see what kind of information her blood would give about her current health situation. Especially since we're hoping that we can get back onto her chemo shortly, and then on the 13th, we're strongly hoping that the doctor gives her an okay to start walking, get the brace off of her body, and going to see the radiologist to have the spine irradiated like they did with her shoulders, hoping to heal those areas quickly. Because if they can make her spinal bone recalcify and get stronger again, she won't have to wear that brace. Don't know about the walking aspect. That's up to her surgical team in St. Louis. Sorry, my brain is like everywhere and anywhere. After her blood draw, we dropped off paperwork at the courthouse to excuse her from jury duty, which is one of the things that she wanted to do. But her doctor said that it's ill-advised due to she would have to spend a whole day sitting in that brace in her wheelchair. That was one reason for not doing it. The second reason is I would not be able to be with her to wheel her around while she's on jury duty. She would have to get herself there, or at least get herself into the courtrooms, into the jury box or wherever she's going to be at, roll herself into any of the rooms that they put the jury in, because the jury cannot listen or read newspapers, cannot do anything that could compromise their decision in the courtroom. Then I had to drop off a piece of mail. I forgot what the mail was for. Something for Jerry. So it's probably mail information to who knows, the Social Security Department, the Social Security Administration group. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff. I just do, what I'm asked to do with it, and that's it. And then I had to run over to CVS to pick up some medication. And while we were at CVS, I made a decision that Jerry asked me about before, and at the time when she asked me, I wasn't really feeling up to it. But due to the exercise that I got by having to go up and down stairs in the court building, even though there was an elevator, I just didn't feel like walking that extra 2 feet, 3 feet, or whatever to get to the elevator. I figured, you know what, I'm still good. My legs still function. I'm going to take the stairs. Well, the good thing about that decision, it invigorated me. It woke me up. It got me pumped. So by the time we picked up her CVS medication, I was like, you know what, I do want to go out to have breakfast, because she wanted to go to Denny's. So I called up Mom to see if she wanted to go, make it a family ordeal, because Mom doesn't get out that often. Mom's worse than Jerry. Mom can get out and do whatever she wants to, but Mom won't do anything of that sort unless somebody's taking her or it's a necessity. Mainly because Mom is getting to the point where she doesn't really like driving unless she has to. So she loves it when somebody will be willing to drive her to places, as long as it's not in her car. She's driven with me in her car once or twice, and even though, because it's her car, and I consider her precious cargo, even though she's not cargo, she's a family member. I am like I was telling Jerry, when when I have passengers in my vehicle, I'm uber cautious. But when I'm driving by myself, it's like, get out of the way, I'm coming through. Um, I don't know, I don't know if it's because of the factor I'm fearless. I don't fear death. Um, Maybe it's that my new attitude because of all the Nordic studies. Maybe it's just I've been that way all my life and didn't realize why until I started studying my family history and my background. Um, and now I'm like, no wonder I didn't fear hurting myself or getting hurt, or yeah, I might have gotten startled and whimpered about it, but then got I think it was after my dad died when I made a certain comment on my dad's grave that just put that he's waking up. That inner part of him is awoken. Because I literally stood on my dad's grave as they were lowering his casket in the ground saying, you're the only human being that I would ever fear. No other human being would put the fear of death or any other kind of fear in me. And ever since then, it was like, oh, you seriously want to come at me? Now, high school. High school was a proving ground to me because that was about the same time Dad passed away as I was entering 10th grade. No, I was actually entering ninth grade by the time he passed away. He died that summer I was going into ninth grade. And granted, I was skinny, looked vulnerable. Up here, I was psychotic. I was, nope. It's like, oh, you want to come at me? Sure. When, where, and how? People realize this guy's nuts. He's got no fear in him. I still don't. The only thing I fear really is things out of my control. Things are of the unknown. Now, some people might say, well, you don't know what the consequences of getting into a fight is. You don't know what I didn't care about that. That was a time of my life that I was just like, I'm going to die. Either I'm going to die because the doctors give me, the wrong kind of medication or increase my medication to the point of, killing me, or I'm going to die, in combat. I was ready to go in the military, but I was too young. Wasn't old enough. Of course, because I had other health issues back then, the military wouldn't take me. But anyhow, so my morning was pretty good. I really enjoyed having breakfast with the family. It was a good day so far. Still is. All right, we're going to get into the Viking Handbook. I need those to read this. I don't know why I took them off. We're getting into the area, part 2, the kingdom, social life. And the first section is feasts and festivals. And of course, the first sentence in the first paragraph literally made me go, oh, this is going to be interesting. Party like it's $9.99. The Vikings were born in the Viking Age was born in the great halls of chieftains who built friendship and alliances through generous feasts and gift giving. Large parties set the stage for dispersing last summer's loot from raiding and recruiting for next summer. Hospitality was huge with the Vikings in general. As we can see in the saga of kings and gods, and the god Odin saying in the Havanal, hast thou a friend whom thou trustest well, from whom thou cravest good? Share thy mind with him, gifts exchange with him, far to find him oft. Now, the word oft in the old tongue is modern day tongue for often. And of course, anybody who's read the Bible knows what thou means. But basically, what they're saying is find somebody that you trust, a member of your council, a member of the alliance that you have with another tribe, somebody that you find to be very trustworthy. Speak to him about everything you have on your mind, basically. Ask him for suggestions, talk to him about what you're thinking, exchange gifts. Basically, keep him as close as possible to you, because then you know you have somebody trustworthy who is often by your side to communicate with. And of course, one of my favorite images out of this book so far is the party feast, the fire where everybody's, drinking mead and carrying on and having a good old time. Now, I'm not going to go any further just for a second, because I want to tell you something else that I know that I read from the Hondbõk. And basically, I'm going to translate it in basic English. The Hondbõk basically speaks, and these are supposed to be words of wisdom from Odin. But the Hondbõk tells us that, yes, have your feast, have your drink, but don't drink to the point where you lose your control or your consciousness. Basically, Bible says it's basically the same thing. Don't drink to the point of being stupid. And it goes to talk about how the Vikings would often, round after round of toasts and talking of tales of the raids, or tales of, toasting, basically also toasting victory from the gods and the king's success. They might make the sign of the hammer over the cup to honor Thor, god of thunder. Odin, the father of gods and the god of battle, was said to have sworn never to drink until his friend Loki was served. So Vikings had a habit of, after every toast to Odin, flicking a few drops of their drink onto the fire for Loki. 19th century version of pouring out for your homies. And then they go to talk about the seasons, the festivals, what seasons they threw festivals. Not just, hey, let's get together and have a party because we just had a successful summer's raid. They also had festivals for weddings, births, honoring the dead. 3 major religious festivals stood out during the year for their emphasis on gathering and feasting. Winter's Night after the harvest, or the Yule season in midwinter. And the Yule season for midwinter and midsummer. So they had 3 major festivals. One for after the harvest, a big, festival for the harvest. The Yule season, which basically was most of December into January. And the midsummer, which basically was about this time of year. That's why I've been noticing on a lot of my Norseman websites, various locations around the world, not around the world, but here in America and over in Norway, they are currently throwing midwinter's festivals. At the end of the Viking Age, the early Norwegian law code, and forgive me if I don't say this right, Grolongding, made it a legal requirement to brew beer for these feasts, and it set the dates to match the Christmas holiday equivalency, All Saints Day, match the Christian holiday equivalents, All Saints Day, Christmas, and the Feast of St. John the Baptist. So, yeah, they actually set a law in Norway for breweries to make special beers for these particular feasts or these particular holidays. So even though they still celebrate the ancestors, they also celebrate and understand the Christian holidays. You got to remember that way back in the 12th or 13th century, Charlemagne led Christians into the Scandinavian territories in hopes to convert the Norsemen or Vikings into Christians. Actually, I think it was earlier than that because I can't remember when, if they gave dates on when Leif Erikson discovered the Americas, because before he discovered the Americas, he went from Iceland, where his father, Eric the Red, established settlements after being kicked out of Norway. He went back to Norway to basically go back to his ancestral homelands, and the king at the time saw the goodness and all the proper signs that Leif Erikson would be the perfect candidate to help him spread Christianity or the word of Christ to other parts of the Norsemen or Viking territories, such as Iceland. And I think when he was trying to return to Iceland with the word of God to help convert the people, that's when he got blown off and discovered what he called Vinland, which is now like Nova Scotia, northern Canada, but still part of the Americas. Just like when Christopher Columbus discovered the what we now call the Caribbean Isles, that was also is now considered North American territory, or at least part of it, like the Virgin Islands. This one, if I can see it properly, because I don't like the way they write on gray background, but there's a section known as Modern Vikings, and it says here, I wish they would change it to Norsemen, I really, really do, but even if you don't currently celebrate the feast of St. John the Baptist, you can still take a hint from the Vikings and throw seasonal ale feasts in your own great home. I wish I had a great hall. Try a Viking-style Oktoberfest in midwinter, Yule bonfire in December, or a summer solstice picnic. Expectant parents assign a grandma. No, not a grandma. No, yes, a grandma. A baby shower planning duties. Oh, basically, assign a grandmother to do baby shower planning duties. I actually wish I could be down in Texas with Jerry. Jerry's not in Texas; she's here, but I wish the two of us could be down in Texas come September, because Lisa's oldest daughter is having her second child, another girl, and nobody is really planning to do a baby shower or anything like that, which is slightly disappointing. But I would love to go down there and be grandma and grandpa, because it's fun. But it also says here, but tell grandpa you want a Barnell I think that's the right word. I can barely see it. Barmol. Barmnil. Barmnil. When you when you bring the baby home from the hospital, you'll have leftovers for days and sleepless nights. I'm guessing this word that I cannot pronounce is a type of giant feast for when the baby comes home, and the parents to be or the parents of the baby will have leftovers for a very long time, which I would love to do. But one, I'm not really a grandfather, and two, it's not my place to ask permission to be able to do something like this, because come September, Jerry will be able to, hopefully Jerry will be walking and driving and whatnot, but I will have to stay up here to work. So if Jerry wants to go down there and help throw a baby shower, that's great. Jerry might even be able to direct a male family member to make a barmel, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry. If there's anybody from Sweden, or not Sweden, anybody from the Nordic countries, or speak the language of the Old Norse, or know what the word means, please send me a translation. The word is Barmo, with that line above it, L. See if I can put my finger underneath it and get it close to the camera. I don't know if you can see that or not. You might have to try to pause and take a snapshot and blow it up or whatever. Some everyday community celebrations are so let me reread that. My own tongue is getting in my way, so I'm sorry. Some everyday community celebrations are so identified with beer that is part of the name. Another word that I cannot pronounce. In quotes, it says a wake or grave ale. That's one. That's for the celebration of the dead, and then they have a. Yep. Okay. Here's a word. I can see the word better compared to up there. Barnell. As close as I can get to pronouncing it, which is a child's ale or child ale to celebrate birth. And I'm not even going to try to say this one. It's a really weird looking word, but it's a barn raising or roofing ale. So yeah, you can see how they celebrated a lot of different events and whatnot throughout the Nordic histories. All right, I'm going to end there because I don't want my videos to get too long. Tomorrow, we get into what they call the grooming section, clean up your act. And one of the things I'm just going to briefly tell you about some of the grooming habits is they had found a set of tools on a little ringlet, and these tools look like a pair of tweezers, a pick, and some sort of weird looking scoop. And we get to talk about what those are if you don't even know by looking at them. And then of course they get into like the grooming habits of men's beards and haircuts, and then of course women's hair and their haircuts, and then from there we get into their clothing. But I'm really interested to look into the grooming section with you guys, because a lot of people would think that back in those days, and this is something I know from other readings and other information besides this book, that you would think, well, Vikings or Norsemen were dirty, violent, bloody people. Actually, according to a lot of the histories that I've read of that time, the Nordic people were actually the cleanest, best smelling, best groomed, best dressed of the various different people of the time. That there was a history piece that I read that talked about when the Norsemen first conquered a section of England, that the women of the area, the non-Nordic women, preferred being with Nordic men because they were they were cleaner, better dressed, better groomed, better self-maintenance than the average man from that part of England during those times, which makes me go, how? And then I read this and went, oh. I can tell you this much just from my readings, that the average Nordic person, both male and female, they had morning rituals of as soon as they got up, they would go clean up. They would wash their face, groom their beards, groom their hair. Actually had perfumes that they made out of various plant oils for the women. And the women would do the same thing. They would wake up, they would clean their, they would get cleaned up. They would put fresh clothing on. And a lot of times, depending on your status in the community, depended on how many changes clothes. The average everyday Joe that was like a farmer or a woodworker or a blacksmith might have 2 different sets of clothing. And what happens, especially if they're married, is they would wear a set of clothing all day long, and during the daytime the women would clean up their husbands or their families' clothes from the day before. So the next morning, that routine would happen, is they'd have a fresh set of clothing that was constantly being cleaned and maintained and cared for. And some of the Norsemen would wear the clothes that they were wearing from that morning as bed clothing. They would take the outer layer of clothing off and have like a long shirt or something like that, or a tunic that went down to their knees, which is average for anybody. They'd have at least one layer of clothes. The first layer of clothes they put on was a tunic that would go down to the knees, and then the other layers were the outer layers to keep them warm. But if you were somebody like the Jarl or the Jarls within the Jarl's circle, in other words, they spent their lives living, or they spent their days living with the Jarl, had their own separate room or whatnot, or a separate space from the Jarl's bedchamber, private chamber, might have 2 or 3 pairs of clothes, and it depended on their status or their wealth. And yeah, back then they had status, but everybody was treated as equals. The difference that made the person who was in charge more important was because of the fact that he was the chieftain. He was a leader of the tribe. He was the person that everybody looked to for advice or for help, or hey, we had a rule that was broken, we need this situation dealt with. He was also the person who would either lead his people into battle, and then if he died in battle, his spouse or his next eldest son became the Jarl of the community, unless they used, I can't remember the name of it, there was a rule that basically, if the people felt that the new Jarl, the descendant of the old Jarl, or like in the Viking series where the Jarl did not have a son to take his place. So when Ragnar Lothbrok, who had an issue with his Jarl and beat him in fair combat and then put him to death, he became the new Jarl. So everybody would look at him as the leader. And the difference about him compared to the old Jarl or chieftain is Ragnar was willing to take his people and lead them into battle and not stay at home doing whatever he wanted with the people and the properties and all that stuff, which the old chieftain was exactly that. He would pick his people and say, you're going into battle in my name, but I'm going to stay here and watch the village. And yeah, because that particular chieftain did not like Lothbrok, while Ragnar was raiding and doing his chieftain's bidding, basically, the chieftain tried to murder his family, and that's when Lothbrok went, nope, open combat, I challenge, and he won and became king. But that's today's little tidbit of Viking knowledge. And yes, I use the TV series as a point of reference because in fact, a lot of things that they're showing and they're doing in that series came directly from various books, including a book written about Ragnar Lothbrok and his family and his sons. So if you want a little bit more taste of what Viking life was like back then, I would suggest you go watch Vikings, or you go to watch Norsemen, or Lost Kingdom. They're pretty close to the real thing. I have not watched Lost Kingdom. I have watched a little bit of Norsemen, and the problem is there's so many good series coming out now that are based on historical information about the Vikings. It's hard to decide which one I want to watch the most, but since I've been watching the Vikings the longest, that's what I'm trying to finish first. Problem is, they did me wrong, and I'll explain why. They did me wrong because before I can even get halfway or towards the end of the first series, they put out Vikings Valhalla. And I just kind of went, I haven't finished the first one. You're putting out a new one? Come on, give me a little bit more of a break, But I guess it's good in some way because in fact, if you wait a little bit, you can literally watch a number of different seasons in one shot, and not have to wait week by week to watch the next episode. But how much time we got? How long is this video? Oh, it's already over 30 minutes, so I don't want to do any more reading. Excuse me, I don't want to break my glasses. Sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that little bit of information and tidbit of history and how our life is doing around here. I told you guys I wouldn't talk as much about the things going on here at the house with the health and whatnot. I just wanted to give you today's little tidbit because it was a medical appointment. Even though it was just getting her blood drawn and whatnot, it was something noteworthy. Wow, this thing spins around a lot. Sorry, I keep on messing with it. So, yeah. If you like today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments about this video, go ahead and put it in, excuse me. Go ahead and put it in the comment box. I do apologize for the gas. I guess breakfast and soda is talking back to me already. But yeah, I'd love to get some more questions. Margaret did, a couple days ago, she asked me a couple good questions about my books and a few of, my books and my stories from Germany or tales of my life in Germany. It was great because then I had something to focus on and talk about. I don't talk about on everything that people have asked me about because some questions are a little bit more, they're not really, not that they're not legitimate questions. I don't want to say that because all questions are legitimate. It's just some of them aren't worth talking about on camera and some of them are just downright, yeah. Sorry that some people's questions get to me because it's like, first off, where did you get that from any of my footage? And second off, that's on a level of personal information that I don't always want to give out or talk about. And then there are those that the question has got to be a joke. Got to be a joke. And I'm not into that negative stuff anymore. Um, I've actually turned over a leaf that is just like no more negativity, no more nonsense, no more bull. And even though people wanted to, for quite some time, a year or so ago, wanted to basically make it sound like that everything I was talking about was nonsense. And I'm like, you do the research, you read the books and tell me what you think of it, and I'll tell you what I think of it, because all my videos are basically personal opinion. They're either personal opinion about a certain subject, or they're a personal opinion about a certain book I read, or this is how my life is. I don't beat around the bush. My father was military, and we never beat around the bush. I tried to go military, but because of various health issues that I did not know I had at the time, like shin splints. I knew about the past breathing issues. I just thought they were gone, but no. They kind of got inflamed while I was doing basic training. I can at least say proudly that I made it through a month and a half worth of basic training out of the 9 months I was supposed to be doing basic. Or 9 months? No. I got through a month and a half, and I was supposed to do 9 weeks. Is it weeks or months? I don't remember. It's been 20 some odd years. 20, about 20 years. No, 25. So about half of a lifetime away. Back in my mid-20s, I tried to go in the military, and mid-20s or later. But it was over 20 years ago I tried to go in, and I made it through a month, maybe a month and a half. Like, I think I was at the halfway mark between, if it was 9 weeks, I was at the halfway mark of the basic training. If it was 9 months, I was only a month and a half, or a month and a week, or a month and a half into my basic training. That it was discovered that the shin splints, especially, was the main cause for my issues. Because I wasn't coughing. I might have been breathing heavy, but I wasn't coughing. I was in more pain than I was coughing. So. And the only reason why they found out about it, because I was doing my best to ignore the pain, was one day we were called out in the quad because one of the drill sergeants overheard a conversation that was a no-no. And so they got us out in the quad to do, basically to be punished for it, and that was basically push-ups. Or in this case, it wasn't really push-ups, it was what they call front lean rest. Is basically you're in the starting position of the push-up where your arms are straight and your back is straight. And that's when things got really bad, and I couldn't even get up off the ground after what seemed like an hour of being in front lean rest. And they escorted me over to the infirmary, and that's when the doctors discovered that I had shin splints. If you don't know what shin splints are, basically it's the muscle coming detached from the bone, and it makes it very hard for you to stand, let alone walk and run. Luckily, I was at that point where the muscle was just barely starting to come undone, and that's when they were like, you're going home tonight. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And they're like, we're giving you what they call a general discharge, because it wasn't a severe enough medical discharge, like a gunshot wound or injured in battle. So I was like, okay, nothing I can do about it. But I got a general discharge, which is better than the guy that got discharged for insubordination and allegations of violence. He was given a I forgot what they classified it as, but they basically gave him a permanent discharge where he cannot go into any branch of the military, period. Dishonorable discharge, that's what I'm thinking of. He was given a dishonorable discharge. And now what I know about dishonorable discharges is there's 3 types. There's a general dishonorable discharge because of insubordination. There is a discharge of basically permanent discharge, and the third and final one is basically you're being escorted in cuffs to a prison for an act of violence or treason or endangering your platoon in a very bad way. And yeah, but sorry, I went over my exiting spiel. But if you enjoyed this, the full vlog, I am going to get off this time because I gotta figure out. Don't think Mom's gonna want to eat. I don't know about Jerry, but I'm not really hungry, so I don't know. But anyhow, if you like this, the whole spiel, or at least the bulk of it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. You can put your comment or question in the question section or comment section, however you want to put it. And then if you're not a member of my channel and choose to, whether it's, hopefully your choices are your positive choices, you can hit the subscribe button. And once you do, you can click on the little bell. And when I put my next video out, the system, YouTube will, the YouTube system will let you know that I have a new video out. Sorry. So until next time, you guys have a good evening. Bye.